All right, today we're jumping headfirst into a really challenging, really different theory of physics from Nari. It's a view that tries to redefine, well, pretty much everything we think we know about space, time, and reality itself. So get ready, because this is going to question some of the most basic things you think are true. So let's start with this. It sounds simple, right? We learn it in school. The world has three dimensions: length, width, and height. But what if they aren't fundamental? What if they're not really real properties of the universe, but just concepts we invented to make sense of a reality that is maybe a whole lot simpler? And here's where it gets really wild. The central idea of this theory is pretty bold. It wants to completely get rid of time as a fourth dimension. I mean, that's a huge break from Einstein's whole idea of space-time. So if time isn't a dimension, what are we left with? Well, according to this theory, the answer is something way more basic: universal rotation. Okay, that brings us to the first major pillar of this whole idea. We're going to stop questioning dimensions for a second and start defining what this new alternative looks like. Let's see what it means to live in a universe with only one dimension. So, what does a one-dimensional universe even mean? First, you've got to forget the idea of a simple line, like on a piece of paper. In this theory, the universe is a single, unified, seamless, and spherical space. Everything that exists is just a feature inside this one all-encompassing reality, and the whole thing is constantly spinning. This image here kind of helps it click into place. In this spherical model, there's really only one fundamental direction: depth. What we experience as length and width, well, that's just our local point of view from inside this massive rotating space. All directions are basically part of the same thing. Now, to make this less abstract, the theory gives us a pretty good analogy. Picture the entire universe as a giant pool of water. The water itself is one seamless thing, right? No corners, no edges, but you can still put angular things, like a cube, in the water. In this picture, the water is the single dimension of space, and that cube, well, that's matter existing inside it. Okay, so let's see how this builds into what is probably the most shocking claim of the whole theory, something that really messes with our day-to-day experience. Let's talk about how time might just be rotation. The paper says it just like this: time is only a metric for measuring the deterministic rotation of objects in the universe. So what that really means is time isn't some river we're all floating down. It's just the ruler we use to measure a motion that's already happening everywhere all at once. So how does this constant spinning create the feeling of time passing? Well, the theory has an analogy for that too: the cork in a river. So first, imagine a cork just sitting in still water. Then a powerful current starts up. That's the rotating universe. It starts pushing the cork forward. The cork has to move. It has absolutely no choice in the matter. That forced, unavoidable journey, and how we measure it, that's what we call time. And you can really see the difference here. On the left, there's the clock, our everyday tool for measuring time as if it's its own separate thing. But on the right, you have this new model. Time isn't a thing at all. It's just a consequence, an effect of the universe's fundamental spin. You know, if the entire universe is constantly spinning, that leads to another pretty startling conclusion, which brings us right to our next section: the illusion of rest, and why nothing in the cosmos can ever truly stop moving. The key idea is laid out in what the theory calls Law 5. Absolute rest is impossible. And the logic is actually super straightforward. If the very container of space is always moving, then how can anything inside it ever be perfectly still? It's impossible. We're all just passengers on a cosmic ride that never stops. Okay, let's take these big abstract principles and apply them to one of the most extreme, most fascinating things we know of. Let's dig into the idea that black holes are actually empty vortices. Yeah, a totally radical new take on these things. And I mean, the difference here could not be more extreme. Mainstream science says a black hole's core is a singularity, a single point with infinite density, made of crushed up matter. Nari's theory says the complete opposite. The core has zero density. It's not matter at all. It's an empty vortex of pure rotational energy. We've all seen those pictures from general relativity, right? The bowling ball on a rubber sheet, showing how gravity works. Well, in this model, that incredible pull isn't from a heavy object warping space-time. Instead, it's caused by the insane pressure difference from a spinning vortex of empty space. Think less cosmic bowling ball, more cosmic vacuum cleaner. 13.47 meters. So, what is this number? According to the math and the theory, this is the predicted radius of the empty void at the center of Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole in our own galaxy. Not a point of infinite density, but an empty sphere just over 44 feet wide. So, a one-dimensional spinning universe where nothing can stop and black holes are empty. Where does all this lead? It leads to the theory's biggest philosophical conclusion, which we'll cover right now: a universe without chance. And this all gets wrapped up in what's called Law 8. Probability is an illusion. The argument goes like this: if every motion is forced and compulsory, then the universe has to be completely deterministic. Chance isn't a real thing in the universe. It's just what we call our own ignorance of all the details. Think about a coin toss. We say it's 50-50, but if you knew every single force, the spin, the wind, the surface it hits, the outcome would be 100% predictable. This theory is saying the entire universe works just like that. And that leaves us with one final huge question, a question that goes way beyond physics and into what it means to be us. If every single event is just the predictable outcome of a universal, compulsory rotation, then in a clockwork universe like that, what is a choice?